this is anyway the one that we're going to work on today, and we'll go from this nice rub and we'll shape it up. So having a closer look at it, it does have a nice pattern on it. This edge over here doesn't seem to have a lot of colour at all. It kind of stops where my fingernail is. And the overall shape of the, what will be a teardrop I think, is a bit wide on this side anyway. So I'm going to match it to the other side at least and just shave all of that in and then see how that looks, see when the colour starts appearing. And then, yeah, basically smoothing it out because it's still pretty rough. You can see there's a big lump here, big drop off here. And then the back I'll just sand down a little bit more. I reckon we can get rid of this and make it a double-sided. And then we'll have a nice double-sided teardrop. So here's one last look at it. Bit of green pinfire. Deeper in, there does look like there's a bit of red that this light is bringing out. One of the lights. I've got two lights. Yeah, so that one's bringing out a bit of red. It's the daylight lamp. But if I chuck that under the water, wet it up. Yeah, might be able to grind it down deeper to get some more of that red, but at the moment it's only got a little bit of red coming through. But we're going to hit it with a Dremel. So starting with a 180 grip. Okay, so the issue is at the moment that it's a wonderful gem everywhere except for here. So it might mean that I do have to take off a couple mils on this side. If I grab a texture, basically even though the camera doesn't pick it up all that well, the colour seems to cut out. Just over that side of it. So I may need to bring that back in and kind of make it a teardrop shape just here by getting rid of that black, because there's nothing coming through on this edge except for right there at the bottom, and I don't really want a dead patch of common opal just sitting there on the outer edge of one side of it. I want this flash to go all the way along this edge. So that's the plan. Switched over to a bigger bit, just so that we can work through it a bit quicker. So we're done with the really coarse grinding. So we'll now have a look at it again. So the shape is just about done. You can see that this side's a bit more rounded than this side where I've kept it straight, but that's just because the I'm not going to be touching the edges with that really coarse grit. So we're dropping back down to this other grit, which is 600. So we're going from 180 to 600 so I can do the final shaping, just tidy up all the edges. The underside is looking just as good as the top side in terms of colour after I got through that little bit of potch that was left there. So this side's got a lot of the green and a little bit of the red. The other side has actually got more red forming on the front of it. So I'll be able to show it off when we go to a different camera. But for now, it's basically up to the stage where I just need to round some of these edges, finalise the shape, round off the tip there, make it look nice and symmetrical, and then we'll have a close look at it before I do the polishing, and then we'll do the polishing. And this will be a nice double-sided kind of teardrop cab. Should look amazing in a fairly large ring, or could even be a pendant. So we've finished shaping the opal. It's still the same shape, still a nice teardrop shape, just more symmetrical now, much smaller. But that's just because a little fraction of the original rub was not very colourful at all. Well, it had no colour. So now we've brought that in and the whole thing is now nothing but colour. It's beautifully double-sided. If we can zoom right in and maybe get it to snap a bit focus. Yep. So you can see here a lot of cutting marks. A lot of cutting marks. But the colour is definitely coming through really nice on both sides. This is the front side, and this is the back side. Both are very similar, but the front side does have a little bit of a slope, a little bit of a sloping at the tail end there, and we'll just round this off a bit more because you can see it's still sitting pretty flat there. But yeah, it's a beautiful opal. It's an absolute gem from Jennie and Shane. So yeah, basically now we're going to go through and use Nova tips. This is what they look like. They're a soft tip, and this is a 600, so pretty much the same grit as the last coarse one we used, just a bit bigger. It's still fairly new, so it's still got its marks and everything. And then we'll go to a 1200, and then finally this 3000, and see what it's looking like after that. But I don't have any tips. These Nova tips can go all the way up to 50,000 grit. I just don't have them up that high. Maybe I will. It depends on how it goes with the opal. But typically 50,000 is way overkill. And I finish with cerium oxide. 50,000 means you can almost finish with one of these. You'll get a good polish with 50,000. But yeah, I've only got up to 3,000, and then after that we're going cerium oxide, and this thing should be nice and shiny. If we let it dry out a little bit now, I've got dry hands. So if I let it dry out and we zoom back in, you can see that all that colour is hidden behind this foggy appearance. So the polishing is basically going to get rid of all of that fog. You can see here when it's dry, there's still a few chips and stuff, which I can get rid of quite easily with one of these Nova tips. But yeah, we'll go through the 3 stages that I'm going to use, and then cerium. So I'll show you what it looks like before the cerium. Done with the Nova tips, and this is what it looks like. We needed a white piece of paper for it to focus last time, didn't we? So you can already see from this distance that the shine is there. So those Nova tips can actually get you a pretty good polish. Like it's almost a solid final polish. Zero inclusions, double-sided, classic teardrop kind of pear shape. Looks absolutely amazing. But it's not finished yet, so just to get it that little bit extra, because it is such a nice stone, we are going to hit it with the cerium oxide. So I'll do that. Probably won't need the cerium oxide for a long time, just because these Nova tips are really good. I mean, in comparison to the beginner starter set, they're day and night really. I mean, this starter set, the final tip in this just doesn't have anywhere near the quality finish that a Nova tip does. And keep in mind, this Nova tip is not the finest of grits either. This is a 3000 tip and it gets a nice polish. So when you think about the fact that there's a 8000, a 14,000 and then a 50,000 above this, yeah, at that point you're not worried about cerium oxide anymore. Not for something like this, but just to give it a mirror finish, we're going to be hitting it with the cerium oxide. So we'll do that just quickly and then we'll have a look at the final thing. Been a long road, but we've made it to the end of the journey. So, grand reveal, we've come up with an absolute gem. This is probably one of the better white opals that I've come up with so far. And this is all from that rub from Jennie and Shane's $200 rough parcel. I snuck one rub in there and it looked pretty good, but I didn't think it would turn out this well. And a bit of lint sticking off it. But yeah, we've used the Nova tips and cerium oxide to finish off this one. I think the stone deserves to have the best equipment used on it. And I guess should actually get some sort of dimensions for this thing now that it's at its final finish stage. So we're looking at, alright, almost 20 mils exactly, 19 maybe. And the fat part is about 11 or 12 mils wide. And it's almost 5.5 carats. I think this piece will be one that I look to sell just because it's such a nice piece that rather than hoarding it myself, I feel like it's an obligation to get this made into some sort of jewellery. or maybe someone that's investing in opals and wants a fairly, well, in terms of investment wise, a pretty cheap kind of opal. This would be a nice one for them to have. But yeah, it could easily go into making, oh, my hobbit fingers are not being very receptive. Could make a really decent sized ring. It's far too small now to just be a standalone rock in a pendant. So I'd say that's a nice ring stone at this point in time. 5.5 carats. It is double-sided though, so it might be nice to have a wire wrapped pendant or something around it. I guess it's not too small. It's borderline too small though, so I'd be saying it's more likely to go into a ring. But yeah, that's it. Went from a rub and we've finished it off. We lost a fair bit just because there was a big section that didn't have any colour at all and I wanted to get rid of that. But the inspired shape was already there and it was just a matter of making the stone as good as it could possibly be. So yeah, nice one. Got every colour you can find in opal with the blues, greens and reds. I guess there's no orange or yellow, or that purplish colour, which is mainly just a different type of blue though, isn't it? Yeah, quite pleased with it, and it finished up real well. So that's the end of that vid, and I will see you in the next one.